Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show with your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
It is fine outside.
It is. It's a beautiful summer day.
Yes, and it is fine with our listeners, and we can't thank you guys enough, man.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without you for sure. Thanks for listening and turning people on.
That's right. And when you do turn your friends on, please tell them just because we like to hear this that you heard it here first.
Right. And hopefully you always hear something new here first. And I think today we're going to bring you a first.
Oh, yeah.
Not so much in what this person does, but how he packages it. It's very unique, I think. So we're going to take a break and come back with the guest of the week, Mr. Sean Wright from LollygaggerFX.
Hello, everyone. Hola, amigos. This is Billy Sheehan, your bass player, and you're listening right here on Amps and Axes.
All right, and we are back as promised with our guest of the week, Mr. Sean Wright of LollygaggerFX. Sean, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying the weather here in northern Michigan.
Oh, nice. What's it like there?
Actually, we've had a kind of cold spring, but starting to warm up. So not too hot, not too cold, just right.
What's just right for you?
75.
Wow.
Yeah, we saw 75 for about an afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, weather is playing havoc. Everyone here in the Midwest, and I know you guys are getting beat up, but Arizona, man, 3 digits. Yeah.
Yeah, friend of ours, Andy Shriver, lives out there, and he posts occasionally, 117 today, and they stopped flights to and from the airport.
Really?
Yeah, because the air is so hot, the planes can't properly fly.
That is hardcore.
Yeah, man.
Yes, indeed.
Something
Holy
about
crap.
when the air is that temperature, the lift isn't the same.
Yeah,
and
well, it's heavy,
flights.
dense air. So the plane doesn't. It's like flying below sea level.
I guess I don't know. They canceled flights.
Wow,
it's good. Too hot. That's the first I've heard that.
And for all of you Steinberger guys that have the old phenolic necks, don't leave them in your car because you'll come out to nothing but crap. Because they melt around 120 and they never go back to their normal shape.
Wow.
That or Dan Armstrong's, and it's aluminum, and you burn your hands when you play it.
Yeah.
The guitar grows 3 inches.
Was it Folletti's, or what was the name of the one that Mark Farner used to play with the V at the headstock?
Oh, yeah. Those they had that
Folletti,
stainless steel neck, right?
Yeah.
Like the old Kramers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
You just wouldn't even want to get near it.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that starts melting tires, on the road. Because they said the pavement's like 150, 160.
Yeah, that'll melt your soles of your shoes.
That's crazy. You got to put shoes on the dog to take him out for a walk. Oh my God! But so much for that.
Exactly.
Let's talk effects.
Okay.
Sean, you're a fan of the show, so we're going to take a trip in the Wayback Machine, and find out where Sean Wright was born and raised, and what got you into this music and electronics business.
Oh boy!
So give us some history, man.
Yeah. Well, I was born down in Detroit, but shortly after my fifth year 5-year birthday, and we moved up here in northern Michigan, and I've pretty much been up here ever since. Music-wise, I turned to guitar because I was a really horrible drummer. I could not keep time, and had I been a little bit better, I probably would never picked up a guitar. But my brother had guitar, and unlike the Van Halen thing, he just decided to still play guitar. So, and that's when I picked it up, and just did the typical jam with friends and all that stuff.
I'm assuming he was an older brother.
No, younger brother actually.
Oh, younger.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Anybody else? Late.
Anybody else musical in the family?
Oh, hell no.
No?
Yeah, I don't know where we got it from. It must have been in the water or something.
It's pretty cool. So, yeah, it's funny. A lot of people get things from their older siblings, and you saw your brother playing guitar. So, was there a battle over the one and only guitar in the house for a while?
Oh, yeah. It was, and it was our first guitar. I think we because I live up here in northern Michigan, there's not a lot. I mean, it's a lot better now, but back then there wasn't that many music stores, and you couldn't go somewhere to see a guitar, let alone get one. So, you look at the old Sears catalog, and you pick the guitar that looks the coolest, not the one that plays the best. And then you get it, and you realize it can't stay in tune. And it's horrible. So we fought over that guitar for like 6 or 7 months. And finally, my brother said, forget this. And he had saved some money and went and got a single pickup Japanese Charvel. Blue one. Beautiful guitar. He still has it to this day.
Did it have that Floyd Rose type bridge, or was it a standard tremolo?
It had the, I think they had the Jackson on it.
Okay.
We essentially, he never played with whammy bar, and I did, but it's his guitar, so down the road he just made a stop tail piece. So it has none now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a pretty cool piece, though.
It's very cool. It plays like butter, and it's like one of those things where not a lot of people can say they still have their first guitar they ever had, and yeah, he still has it.
When was this? Do you remember about what year?
Oh, 80, must have been 86 or 87. Yeah, probably around there.
Okay. Did it have a maple fingerboard or a rosewood fingerboard? Do you remember?
Rosewood.
Okay,
Rosewood.
that was a model. That was a Model 2, if I'm not mistaken. I owned one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice guitar.
Yeah. They were very well built, and on the back of it, it said made in Japan, but it was out of. It had the was it Fort Worth or was it San Dimas? I can't remember what the plate said, but it actually had stamped in it made in Japan, but then it actually, said like USA and then wherever they were at that time. Mm-hmm. And they were really well built guitars, Jeff, because they were being built by the same company that was building the Fenders and stuff back then.
Yeah, because all the import stuff was pretty good by then.
Oh yeah, it was really good. I think it's what eventually turned into ESP. I think they were doing a lot of the market guitars over there, or the Fenders and stuff like that.
Yeah. They the quality had gotten pretty good by that time, and I think I don't know where. Mick, I don't remember either where they were. I know San Dimas was first, right, and then they moved.
Yeah, that's where Wayne and started that whole thing,
right?
Back in the day, and then they did end up moving when Grover took over. And and then he shortly after that,
in there somewhere.
I'm telling you, and then he shortly after that lost it. It was done. Yeah. And Fender picked it up, and now they are the proud owners of Charvel Jackson.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah, and which is EVH too, so you can
right.
Take your pick.
So with that guitar, at some point came some form of amplification, I would assume. Do you remember what that was like?
Well, minus the really crappy Sears amplifier we had, I think our first real, and I'm putting quotes on that, we had this PV Decade. It's like literally, and nothing against PV at all. They make some really fine stuff, but that was literally the worst guitar amplifier I think I've ever played. And we played that thing for 2 years. And I think that's where my infatuation with effects came, because, I mean, if you could throw anything that made a turd sound good, we threw it in front of that amplifier.
You said the horrible Sears amp. I'm assuming it was not one of the coveted Silvertones.
No. This is 80s. This is the uncoveted solid state built out of glue and sawdust and horrible.
Yeah.
And just to go back for a second, you said that now you have music stores in northern Michigan, but back in the day you didn't. And that was the lifeblood of eBay when it first started. Because, you'd have some guy in Wyoming and he wanted a Les Paul, but he'd have to drive 200 miles to go to a store to get the Les Paul that may not be there. But eBay opened that world up because he had high-speed internet, so he could actually get his Les Paul. And now it's a different story because music stores have just, grown by the thousands all over the country. But back in the day, man, that's how eBay made all their money. Was just selling odd stuff that you could not buy.
I think Sears made a couple of dollars in there too with the Silvertone stuff even before that, talk about glue and plywood, those Silvertone guitars, but man, they are, they're the shit now,
Those pickups.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lipstick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that's I mean, there wasn't much you didn't have a lot of options before the internet. And I at that time, Mick, I don't even remember if there was there high speed back then, or was that still like
it was dial
modem.
Yeah.
That was modem dial up kind of stuff. Yeah. So
high speed.
We didn't even have any of that up there. It was I think we had internet by yelling from each other to another. It was pretty backwoods.
Well, back in those days, it was real computer nerds that had the bulletin boards and stuff like that. And then in the 90s is when you started to see the high speed stuff, but it was ridiculous. I mean, it was like $70 a month, and people, once you had it, you wish you never got rid of it, but it was still very expensive and kind of hard to justify because there wasn't a lot going on the internet at that time,
Right.
But once it took off, man, I'm telling you, that was what. You would sell a guitar and you'd be like, where is this place? And you'd look and it would be some remote area in, Northwest. And you're thinking, well, I just made that guy's life because he would have to get on a plane or something to go get a guitar.
Right. Now you do everything on your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
Reverb.com on your phone, It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't talk the E word anymore. It's reverb.
Reverb.
Yeah, it totally is. So you said that's what you got. That's what started you down the path of electronics was this wonderful sounding Decade amp that you had. Did you wind up getting anything better? You had to have gotten something better after that. But...
Well, yeah. I mean, down the road, we started collecting. That was late 80s, so I think people were throwing Fender Basements to the curb for their latest high-powered solid-state Bumblebee amp. So you could pick up Basements for like $50. So we finally realized, oh, wait a minute, here's this tube thing, that's cool. And then, not dirty. Well, you put a DS1 in front of it. Oh, okay, cool. So that's kind of what it was. And there was a lot of us would get together and we would trade stuff to borrow. It's like, here, try this, try that. And it was not so much a DIY thing as much as it's like, I don't have this. Do you have it? And let me try it. And then we would drive down to, drive to Traverse City where I live now, or you drive down to Detroit to get something that you wanted, So it was you needed to make a decision right off the top. It wasn't like, I'm going to peruse a music store down in Detroit. No, if you're going down there, you're on a mission.
I can imagine.
So did you eventually start tinkering with what you had to make it better?
A little bit. In my family, there were two people. You were either a machinist or you were involved in electrical electronics, and I didn't want to do either. But then again, at that age, I kind of liked sitting on the couch and watching TV. That seemed like a really good career choice for a while.
I got 3 of those.
Yeah, it was just one of those situations where, I don't know, maybe I just hadn't grown up. But, I was looking, I thought, I want to make guitars, which is really odd considering I don't think I've ever, at that time, filed a piece of wood, let alone cut one and made a guitar. But I thought, I'll look around. And I think in Guitar Player and Guitar World, they had those ads for Roberto Venn, guitar building out in Arizona, speaking of Arizona. And I thought, okay, then I'll go there. But I thought, that's only 3 weeks. That's not a real school. Again, being very naive. And I found a school. I still don't know how I got the information. I was thinking about it all this week. But I found a school out in Minnesota, Irving Technical College. And they had a luthier program, and they had a string instrument repair and brass. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to build guitars. And then I found that they had an EMT program. And I'm like, what is that? And I look, and it was electronic music technology. So essentially, it was an electronics class, 2-year program, associates, where the first year, you basically, you learn your Ohm's Law and Kirchhoff and all that stuff. And then the second year was applied, which basically we were a music repair store on top of any projects and stuff that we did. So they would bring equipment in and we would repair it. And my instructor, Ed Merwin, he was like 4'2". He had Tourette's.
Holy hell!
And he had an afro, and he was a white guy, So he was just an odd duck, but he was so smart. So he was hard on us. And the thing about a class like that is that, it's surreal because if you go to like an ITT Tech or whatever, pretty much everyone's going to be the same, right? You go into a class like that, and then there's the death metal guy. There's the guy who never left his basement. Mm-hmm. There's the 43-year-old guy. I mean, it was like the odd ducks of society in this class. And some of these guys were like killer guitarists, but they were like, what's this? Well, I even know that's a resistor. And I think we started my class, I think we started with about 24, 25 people. And I think by the time that we had graduated the second year, I think we were down to 7. So, yeah, it was pretty brutal if you didn't want to put the time in and study. And it wasn't like I got to play with tube amps all day. That was kind of my specialty. But it was like one of our exams was, okay, you have to set up a MIDI setup with a keyboard, a sequencer, and it was an exam. And I can't play keyboards, so I'm like trying to figure out how to play Lowrider on a keyboard so I could pass this damn class. I mean, I'm figuring out the chords. It was horrible, but, the whole point was to be well-rounded. And, we got a lot of training in digital as well as analog. However, I just stuck with analog. So the amps was my first thing. That's and Mr. Bober, one of our instruction books was the Aspen tube amp book, and I believe you're in that book, and as well as I believe Ken Fisher, and I think Gerald was in there. So I learned a long time. Yeah, it was really cool. So I knew of you guys, and so I knew okay, I want to make amplifiers. And I think at the time, probably about 94, that was kind of like the beginning of the vintage, amplifiers coming out. I think Victoria, Top Hat, all those guys were coming out. And so it's like, onward and upward. And then I graduated, and I realized basically I was just a glorified roadie because you don't make a lot of money, repairing things. So that's basically where we're at. And this was out in Minnesota, and we were out there for 3 years, and then we just came back to Michigan.
You said did the whole family move out there?
Well, me and my wife.
Oh, okay.
And we never say an accident because, children are blessings, but we had our daughter probably a year and a half earlier than we wanted to. So we were a family, and I was working and she was working, and here I have a 1-year-old, and now I have to study for an exam. It was pretty hectic, but I guess it was kind of a good growth and wake up thing about becoming an adult.
Well, if it's always hard, and it's probably best done younger rather than older, if it's going to happen. So,
yeah,
because that's when you're the most resilient. You don't think you are, but you are.
Yeah, it's amazing how many meals you can make out of ramen noodles and hot dogs.
Absolutely. So you moved back and became a roadie, or did you become a roadie out there and then you moved back and continued the road?
No, I had some chances to do it, but I lucked out in being able to get into a music store down in Dearborn, Michigan.
Cool.
And I basically started probably, about 15, 20 years doing repairs on everything. And
been there.
Yeah. But that was over a period of time. I would duck out, and I think my first real gig, I got a job at Naylor Amplification down in Detroit. Yeah, and I'd gotten the job just right after Joe had sold it. So I went down to the Detroit Amp show, and I see Joe Naylor there. I'm like, hey, I need a job. He goes, good. Can you work on guitars? I'm like, no, dude, you make amps. He goes, no, I sold it. I make guitars now. Oh, I can't make guitars. But he gave me the number of the guy who owned it at the time. And that was a really cool learning experience because, as you can see probably from my pictures, got my point-to-point game up on par doing that.
Building the nailers.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
How long did you work with? I don't want to say with Joe, but at Naylor.
Yeah, at Naylor, I think Kyle Kurtz owned it at the time. I worked there for a short period of time. It was one of those things that I think he was just getting ready to sell it himself, and it got slow, so I bailed. And then I worked at Guy Hedrick's Guytron Amplification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite stories is at that same Detroit Amp show, I got a hold of a guy named Frank Lamara, who has worked with a couple guys. He's worked with Bruce Ignator and stuff like that. So him and Guy were starting in this amplifier company, and at the time I was just desperate for a job, but hopefully a job in what I was trying to do. Mm-hmm. So I drive, I swear, it was probably an hour to get to where he was at. I get there, he's really super cool dude, really intelligent, has great ideas, but he's an odd duck. And he's trying to explain stuff to me, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that. Well, Frank tells me at the guitar show, he's like, oh yeah, when you get there, work the first day, and Guy will pay you, he'll just give you cash, and then you just keep coming back. And I'm like, okay. Well, I think I got there at 8, and it was about 8 o'clock at night. And I'm kind of hanging around, like, oh, yeah, tell me one more story, please. I'm like thinking, I want to get paid, So I'm like, screw it, I'm going to go. So, okay, I got to go. And he goes, oh, wait a minute, I owe you something. I'm like, oh, yeah, cool. So he goes in his house. And he had just quit drinking coffee because he had a super sensitivity to caffeine. And he comes out with this Krups espresso machine and gives it to me, and he goes, here you go, this should cover today. So I had to go home and tell my wife that I got paid with a coffee
I
machine.
got a coffee machine.
So yeah, just
There you
bizarre.
go.
So
Wow.
anyway, I do that, and then I do some other things, and I kind of do repairs on and off. And then I think somewhere about 15 years ago, I realized I can't make money doing this. So I went into the industrial electronics, and that's what I've been splitting my time between doing Lollygagger and that. And that's kind of where we're at now.
That's very cool. I mean, I came from after being educated. I came out of like the aerospace industry into the music thing, But it was always, I always had my hands in something musical, So it was just kind of a natural progression. But so when did you did you start modifying pedals like some of these guys do, or did you just decide that you wanted to start building them?
I would modify when the opportunity came up. I never sought it. I kind of had my bag of tricks just over the years, and I just said, no, I'm gonna start building pedals. And and not to be harsh at all on a lot of guys that are in this field. I mean, I'm friends with many, many builders, and I'm actually amazed more at the guys who don't have the training, who pick up this stuff. That just amazes me. But at the time, I had the skills, and I kind of knew what I was doing, so I said, I don't really need to go this route. I'm just going to build. And we started that in 2012, and haven't stopped since.
Wow. What was your first pedal, the first design?
Our first pedal was our Cherry Box Fuzz. It's basically a kind of a different type of fuzz circuit, and it has a switchable and controllable oscillation circuit to it. And unlike some fuzzes that have oscillation where you just turn it on and it just goes all to hell, we can dial the Cherry Box so it's tameable, so you kind of get this really cool octave thing, and it kind of behaves like an active tone circuit at the same time. So we had that in 2012, and then after that we kind of came out with our flagship, which was the Canalia.
And that's
our overdrive. That's our overdrive with the adjustable switchable extra gain boost on it.
Now let me ask you, because I'm looking at your stuff here, and every single pedal looks identical, like the way the switch layout is, the way the volume or the way the knobs are and everything. Of course, the most amazing cases I've ever seen, from bird's eye maple to flame maple and they're stained. There's got to be hours of woodworking in these things. Are these switches on the inside of these boxes? Is that how you change these? Oh, okay. So would they have like dip switches inside that you would change the tonality to it?
Oh, no, I think I know where you're going with this. No, actually, even though they're the exact same layouts, the Cherry Box is in its thing and the Canalia is in its thing, and so they're the same circuit throughout all the overdrives. And each box, we use CNC, so they're highly precision cut, so they're almost identical in terms of hole position, our nomenclature, our name and stuff. The only thing that varies is, what type of wood we use, and, what kind of anodized dye we use, or whether we use like a natural finish. And then we do like again, I came up with this brilliant idea. Oh, let's do this. Again, dude, you don't work on wood. Why did you come up with this idea? So it was like the cart before the horse kind of type thing. So I kind of had to learn on the fly because it took off. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had a friend out in California who had a CNC machine, and we came up with the design. And then recently, I have somebody here in Michigan doing it now. But the CNC is cut, so it's braced I think a lot of people often worry about the durability of the pedal, and I think one time I think I had a couple beers and I was annoyed, so I took one of our boxes and then I ran it over with my car, and I basically parked it on top of the box, and I'm sitting there doing like a dumbass commentary about, look at my box, it's under a tire. That was really bad. It made the point, it's like, okay, so it's durable. But the one thing I didn't take into consideration is like, okay, I want to make this really super high output, discrete part overdrive in a wooden box with no shielding.
Yeah. That was my next question.
Yeah. So basically I like my fingers, so I am going to bypass the whole copper tape thing. If anyone's ever played with copper tape, they'll know what I mean.
I have, and yes, I do know what you mean.
That's right.
So I found some. So right now we're using a combination of first two coats are just conductive carbon, and then the last two coats are nickel, for better contact for the inside, for the grounding points on the inside of the circuit, so we can get the electrical connections we need, and we can bypass having any RF problems. And we finally, about a year and a half ago, finally got everything together, and we eliminated all the little tiny quirks, and now we're just up and running.
Now, I know you can spray the conductive carbon. There's a Fender story in there, but how do you apply the nickel?
The nickel spray too.
Is it?
Wow.
Yeah. There's actually what I was using before that, I was using copper spray, and the can is literally 8 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
So after like 3 sprays, your can's gone. And I think a can of that goes for about $30.
Oh, there you go.
So I like, okay, well, this isn't really cost effective.
Right.
So then I'd found a place that does nickel, and it was a little bit cheaper. So yeah, I was really surprised. It was just like one of those things you're like, and you get online and you Google search, and it took me a little bit, but I found a place that does it.
I assume you just paint the inside of the cavity?
That's correct. And the bottom plate as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I was doing the guitar building thing, Jeff, for a very short period of time, and also I would mod guitars, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll get the copper tape thing from Stu Mac, and I would buy that roll of copper tape, and then I was like, this is horrible, and it works well when it works, but it was just, I don't know, it was sort of like putting a suit on inside of an MG. You just can't do it, right? Like you're looking at it and you're going, oh no, I can just stick this on the bottom. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Some of the control cavities are much smaller than others, And then I found that beautiful paint that they sell, and I was like, you got to be kidding me! I was killing myself when I could have just slopped this paint in there and been done.
Are you talking about the carbon, the conductive?
Yes. Yeah, the conductive paint. Yeah, that they sell from Stu Mac, and you just brush it in there and let it dry, and shocker, everything's shielded.
Totally.
Well, not even to mention that when I have to use copper tape a lot at my work, and you got to be careful because your fingers will be laced open by the end of the day. I mean, basically, you're playing with rolled razor blade, essentially.
Basically,
So it just got to be. I knew right away. I'm like, okay, I'm bypassing this. I mean, I get paid good money to do the other thing. This, I'm getting paid, but not enough to slice my fingers open. So that's when I went and did the spray option, which really worked out well, and it's quicker. We can turn out a pedal probably in about 2 days, if I don't have anything on my bench. And we've pretty much streamlined it down to that. I mean, first it was a week, then it was like 4 days, and then, now I think, like I said, about 2 days we can kick out, because you got to let, that's one of the things too, is like, okay, I don't know how to work on wood. Well, I'll kind of figure that out by getting the CNC. Now I got to learn how to dye things, and then I got to learn how to finish things, and so I'm here on like these.
What is the process for the coloring of the boxers? I mean, they're very unique.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We use aniline dye, and I usually do a mix of aniline dye and usually denatured alcohol because it dries quicker. And then once that dries, and we get a color that and you got to be kind of subjective, because until you throw on the lacquer, that's when you see, you know, like a guitarist, you know, or a guitar maker, he can look at the front of the guitar and he can tell, okay, if I put this on it, I know it's going to pop. Well, I didn't know that. I'm like looking at this, and you know, I think the first time I really, really paid attention that Robert Keeley, who I'm friends with, actually got a hold of me. He says, I want one of your pedals. I'm like, okay, great. So I'm nervous. I want this thing to work, number one. Number two, I really want it to look nice. So I'm like dyeing it. Oh, not good enough sand. Dyeing it. No, not good enough sand, you know. And then I finally realized with that, it's like, okay, dumbass, you put the lacquer on. Once the lacquer's on and you buff it out, it's like, oh, okay. Now so it's kind of been one of those weird learning experiences where I kept throwing out obstacles in my way to see if I can jump over them or not.
But you have to seal the end grain, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because if you don't, you'll get that funky dark light thing going on.
Yeah, and a lot of the times with our pedals, it actually works out pretty good. Okay. It kind of offsets the apron and the top of the pedal. So if we have a customer that doesn't prefer that, then we will tape it off and spray the end.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't get too dark. But lots of the times, you'd be surprised. Like our Lake Michigan Blue, you put it on, and the way it comes out with the ends, it's kind of like this really deep glowing blue, and it just really hits it. So I mean, at times it's not a detraction at all.
Gotcha. Not like a guitar would be.
Oh yeah, that would be way totally different.
Do you use the same type of wood for all the enclosures?
We can do any kind of wood. We focus mainly on maple. We do some walnut, and the walnut stuff generally is natural. We'll just usually do a overcoat on that. We also do, like, for our lower tier stuff, we'll do 8/4 hard rock maple, and it'll just be a solid piece of 2-inch maple, and then we'll CNC that out, and you don't get the the top with the figured, but it still looks really super nice. And we do this vintage red. It took me a long time to get it down, but I was really trying to get that old SG brown red.
Yeah.
And it's a bitch. And I said, screw this, I'm done. My wife says, well, let me try. So she figures it out, and it looks great. And then I said, good, now you can do the dye, and I can build shit, And
nice.
So she takes care of a lot of the finishing aspect, and of course, the financials and stuff. And I am the solder jockey and design guru, I guess is what she calls me.
Well, I like the idea that you're staying with more domestic woods, because like you said, you can make it out of anything, but when you got some guy that's like, hey, give me Coca-Cola, or, something that's like so exotic that you're like, what? Then your pedal doesn't stay at that cost, which I'm very surprised at the cost of this, with all the work that goes into just the box itself. It's very surprising. It's what, you have two prices, $219 and $279, right?
$279, yeah. It was one of those things where, I think anybody in any part of this whole crazy music building thing, I don't think any of us are going to get rich doing this. So if I can make a little money and I can continue to grow and do fun things, then I'm cool with it. We had a different price tier, and it was very, very reasonable in my eyes for the amount of work we did. But you know what? I talked to some music stores, and I talked to some reps, and they're like, dude, I don't care what you say, you are not going to sell an overdrive for over $209. So they had to knock on my head a few times, and that's when we really started focusing on the standard. And I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think there's a nicer looking overdrive, and it sound just as good, if not better, than most of them on the market for $219. So, and like I said, the $279, when you open that door, you're not asking the price. You're like, I want that. And still very reasonable, in my opinion.
Well, Sean, these pedals are very, very inexpensive compared to some of the people that we've had on.
Well, and nothing against. I mean, there's people that because they either make a good product, or more importantly, make a good product and have a presence or a name, and they can demand those kind of prices. I mean, I think the Klon is a wonderful pedal. There's no freaking way in my mind am I going to drop $2,200 on a pedal. That's just not going to happen. I will drop $2,200 on one of Bober's amps. I mean, I'm not going to do it on a pedal.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy one of my amps, or you could buy a pedal. I was just somehow I came across a couple of vintage Univibes the other day on either eBay or Reverb or something like that. Yeah. These things are up like in the $4,000 range now.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's ridiculous.
And there's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing that nobody can do anyone can make that circuit better. Mm-hmm. They can make it stronger. They can make it more flexible.
Sure.
But you know what? It's, a lot of that is bragging rights. I mean, I was on a forum and some guy was literally bragging. When I'm done with my set list, I have to pick up my 2 Klons and walk around with them because I'm afraid someone's going to steal them.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, that's ball walking.
Yeah, and on top of that, here's what I always say. I say, okay, you can make the most organic delay that you want, the Strymon, whatever. I don't care what it is. And they go, oh, it's got the tape warble and everything else. Yeah, and then when you put a frickin' drummer who's trying to put the stick through the drum and trying to shatter every cymbal he owns,
right.
Your tape
and a
wobble...
couple of thousand watts of bass player.
Yeah, exactly. Your tape wobble is, it may as well just be, somewhere else because it doesn't exist. And it's like, I could put a DD5 on the floor and you'd go, yeah, it sounds the same to me. I don't know what you're hearing, It doesn't make that much of a difference once you get that whole thing going.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
And Sean, your pedals, we'll go back to this for a second. You did say they're all point to point, right?
Yeah, it's all point to point. We're using construction, but
you're not making any money at all.
Actually, you know what? I've been at this race for a long time. I'm just gonna say it. I'm a kick-ass solderer. That's what I do. I've been a solder jockey for 20-some years, so I can kick out 10 boards in the night. It's not that hard once you have the setup for it.
Sure.
But there's just a degree of, oh my God, that must, no, it's not that bad. It's mostly the box, so it's like, that's what's killing me is like, oh, this is a great idea. You're like, oh, wow, I just made myself have a headache. But we've streamlined that now, though, too, like I had said. So, yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you what, God bless anybody that wants to use germanium transistors. We're never going to go that route. I have no desire to go through bins of obsolete parts, measure them, hope leakage is okay. No, we're using our active components are new, and that's the way we're going to continue to go. I mean, you can, Jeff probably can attest, you can make something sound good by relaying out the circuit. It's like, I don't think everybody and their mother is absolutely happy about the tube situation we have right now. And I heard that you kind of tried to move on from that, Jeff. But you can make a tube from today. You can make it sound pretty decent. You just have to know what you're doing. You got to work at it, fix the circuit around it.
Right. I mean, that's what I do. I work with current parts. I have since I started building amps. Yeah, occasionally, you do the NOS stuff, but and if somebody early on, I would do it if somebody wanted it. But for as long as I can remember now, I will tell people, no, I really don't offer an NOS option, because the longer we go in years, the more we're seeing the bottom of the barrel with the NOS stuff. And even if you're blessed enough to get good ones that aren't microphonic, once you wear those out,
yeah,
you're going to be stuck with an option of getting something, that's noisier or less reliable, or just, a piece of crap, basically, or new, currently made tubes, and they're not going to sound like what you got used to. So why put yourself in a position of getting used to something that you may not be able to replicate again? I build with new stuff because I know for a good amount of time I'm going to be able to replicate every time I put something together. It just doesn't make sense to go back. I mean, I did the whole. I was one of the first guys to start doing the fuzz face repros. I think I was doing them even before Dunlop came out with the repro round fuzz face box. Okay, I was making the boards, and I got the germanium transistors. I had a couple of different kinds from a couple of different sources.
Weren't you doing them for Stevie Ray, right?
Yeah, Renee, Stevie's tech. He found out I was doing them, and he specifically got some new boards from me, because the boards, after all these years, and some people solder on them, a couple of times, the traces started lifting, and I had the exact same layout of the board, and I was doing new boards like that. So he used to get them for me and redo Stevie's fuzzes, and I would do them, and but I had the germaniums while I could still get them. This was back in early 80s.
Yeah.
And Ken Fisher told me once that the best match was, I think they had to be, the two in a fuzz face had to be purposely mismatched by about a gain of, I just off the top of my head, the number, I don't know, 15 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get a on both of those, yeah.
Yeah, to have the best fuzz, they would need to be mismatched instead of matched. So I would go through them and check all the gains, and and that worked fine for a while. But
how many did you have your box of shame, where you would go through 30 transistors and, well, these aren't worth the shit, so I'll put them in this box, and now.
Well, it's if you put like a pair in that were mismatched by 15, you would get a good fuzz sound. You could put another pair in that were mismatched by 15. You could get a good fuzz sound. The total gain of the units would probably not be the same, but the response, the response to the guitar would be similar. So some boxes would be hotter than other boxes.
Right.
It all depends on the gain structure, and you could tweak things a little bit if you needed to. But I tried to keep it as original as possible. But then you have the instability issues. Like this one sounds better on a hot stage. This one sounds better on a cold stage.
Well, I have guys that would stick theirs in a cooler with ice packs. And it's like, if I got to put my pedal in an ice pack cooler, no, screw that. I'm just give me whatever. I mean, Mick was saying, if you're playing fuzz on a stage, the nuances are just out the window. But I mean, it was funny because at first it was kind of cute, go get some NOS transistors. When you're spending like $30 on a AC 128, I'm like, wait a minute. No, that's almost a set of tubes, I'm like, no. So I got tired of measuring, and I got tired of people saying, well, my pedal doesn't work. Well, I hit it in my car and it's 100 degrees, and I just finally just said, I'm using new stuff. I still use Allen Breeze. They're really cool resistors. I like using them. But, even my caps, I'm using Wimas. I'm not using tropical fish caps and all that. You just got to design the circuit to make it sound good. You don't have to put the mojo in. You don't have to put in the super special, found it behind my uncle's fridge transistors. But there's some people that do that, and more power to them. But I just don't have that patience, because I'm a woodworker now. So that's where all my time is.
That's right. You
Oh,
got to
I
have
love
something
it.
stable and repeatable on the inside because you got to concentrate on the outside. But they're beautiful boxes, man.
Oh, my
I
God,
gotta
yeah.
tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and like we had thought about doing exotics. Mick, I know you had mentioned that. It's just okay. There's things that I got a slab of bloodwood, and I thought this is great. It's heavy.
Until you have to cut through it.
Well, that's when my CNC guy goes, "Are you freaking crazy?
Yeah, nobody's going
I'm
to cut
not
that.
Gonna,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to cut this.
Really?
I'm like, why? What's wrong? He says, one, it's greasy.
Yeah.
Number two, it's hard as nails.
Yep.
And he gave me a price of cut the. I was like, screw this. I'll go back to maple. So I mean,
Yeah, it'll ruin it.
Yes.
It'll ruin a blade. It'll ruin a bit. I mean, even
Yeah.
carbide
Wow.
stuff. Yeah. and-
Really?
oh yeah. So there was a place that they used to have down on Leskins Hill where we live in Baltimore, and it was a woodworking shop, and it was the strangest thing. They went out of business. Shocker, because they had a woodworking shop where they would let guys come in, and all you had to do was sign a waiver, right?
oh god,
I remember one day I went in there and there was a board. There was a hole where a board had kicked back off of the table saw and stuck into the wall.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And because it was some guy that did not know what he was doing, right? Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
they used to sell, they used to have stock. And I remember seeing this bloodwood, and the guy goes, "That's the heaviest board you'll ever pick up in your life." And it was
is.
probably 12 foot tall, and it was 8/4, so that's, some quote unquote 2 inches thick.
2-inch. Right.
And it was probably, 14 inches wide. And
Wow.
it weighed like 250 pounds. I was like, this is insane. And he was
Wow.
like, yeah. And he goes, "We won't let you cut that on anything in here." I'm like, why have it?
But and then the other thing was I love spalted wood. I think it's beautiful.
Sure.
And then my CNC guy goes, "Well, you want to pay my allergy bills? So I have absolutely no problem cutting your spalted wood."
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so that went out the window.
Plus,
so,
it's soft as anything. I mean, it has.
and it can crack, and so we just learned kind of right off the bat that American woods for the most part, hardwoods, nice stuff. I mean, we don't make anything out of poplar. We don't, we do hickory stuff sometimes for the people who decide that our pedals are a diving board when they're on stage. So it's like, it's just added insurance. It's like, okay, I'm making this thing out of hickory. You break this, then you can't buy anything anymore.
Yeah.
You're done. You and your jack boots. You're done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a weapon.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. and
So is there? I was going to say. Oh, go ahead, Mick.
I was gonna say when you came up with this idea and then you had to do it the first time, did you take like a moment and go, "I'm not going to do this. This is way too much work," or did you just think, "Well, this is going to set me apart from the other guys"? Which, I mean, you are definitely set apart from the other manufacturers. There's my dog. I love this part.
Actually, I lucked out at first because, like I said, the guy, my friend Bob Savage out in California, he was doing the finishing for me. So it was like, "Hey, this is great. This is awesome." And then I was getting the bill, and I was like, "Oh, this is horrible. This sucks," So it's like he was closing up shop, and he's like, "Hey, I got this really great batch of flame maple. Here's the price." And I'm like, "Oh God, dude, I already gave blood once this month. I can't do it again." So I said, "Why don't you send me the boxes and I'll finish them, or I'll find someone to finish them." Well, one of my friends who has literally the Norm Abram wood shop
Oh yeah.
went in there, and he's got everything. And I said, "Hey, you want to finish these boxes?" He goes, "Fuck no, I don't. I don't like finishing stuff. That's why I cut stuff." So I'm like, it was kind of one of those things where I guess I'm going to have to learn how to finish wood. And the first couple boxes were really bad, and they never left. And I occasionally will, for certain mods or something, I'll get older ones back. And they look nice, but it's like, from where we are right now, I'll look at it and like cringe a little. Like, but like right now, I figure out how to do mirror finishes if I want to.
Wow.
It's a lot of it's technique, and a lot of it. Get this from a kid who absolutely had no patience growing up. It's like, wow, now I need to learn patience too, So it's like everything I didn't want to know how to do, I had to do so I can get this product out on the shelf.
Yeah, but don't worry about the old ones. They'll become air quotes collectible.
There you go.
Someday.
Oh yeah.
So
they'll
don't
be
worry
the
about
plexis of the
right.
Yeah.
They'll be the clons, the
Well,
plexis.
I tell you what, man, it's a very unique thing. They're very cool looking. I suggest all of our fans check them out because that is something, in the world today, there's so many companies that use box A, right? And that box gets 15 different names on it. And if you are at a gig and somebody decides to lift that thing off of your pedal board, which nobody should ever do, these stand out. This isn't something that you're going to easily get rid of and it's just going to go into the mix. Somebody's going to look at this and go, I've never seen one of these before. Something's up. And not that it's for the stealing purpose, but it's definitely a very unique box and it's gorgeous, man. I mean, your stuff.
Well, thank you.
It's like if you have a crappy looking guitar, you don't want to buy one of these pedals.
Really?
Well, and I really super appreciate that. But I mean, when it comes down to the nitty-gritty was the circuit,
Yeah.
I'm not anti-op amp by any means, but if I see another circuit with an op amp with the clipping and the feedback, I'm like, oh God, no, we don't need another tube screamer. So I decided I was going to do a fully discrete overdrive 4 years ago, before other people decided that was a good idea. And I wanted something that, the Canali is supposed to do one thing. It's supposed to kick your amp in the ass. It's not supposed to color it. It's not supposed to change it. It's a little bit unforgiving because it's not mushy. I mean, basically, you take a boost, add a grit to it, add a 30 dB boost, and that's what the Canali is. It's not a pure boost, and it's not an op amp overdrive. It's in between, and we wanted to make something that sounded better than a lot of what's out there. We wanted to sound something that was, and I hate the word transparent. I think it's an awful, awful, awful word because really nothing's transparent. You're going through parts, it all changes.
Totally.
But one I wanted to make was something neutral and something that affects the gain of your amplifier, and having the addition of being able to kick on a gain boost on it for doing solos and stuff. You now have taken your Marshall Plexi and made it a 3-channel amp, and that was our full attention from the get-go, was to do that. And I mean, I could easily, and I may someday, I could easily put this in a metal box, and we may someday. But right now, I think both go hand in hand. Our motto is old world styling with today's technology. And we wanted to make a product that sounds great, that stands head and shoulders among the best, but looks great, is durable. And that's what we did with the Canalia. And I'm really happy with the product. I'm glad everyone loves the way it looks. But it sounds great, and that's the one thing you kind of make yourself a little whole because it's like, oh, you're the one who makes the great looking pedals. It's like, yeah, but did you hear it? Did you play through it? Well, no, but I really liked it. Yeah, so it's a double-edged sword. But
it must be the same guys that buy the guitars and just put them away. Buys the pretty guitars and puts them away.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we also readjusted our price, because I want everybody to have the tools they can use to play great music. I mean, everyone does. Sure. I grew up in northern Michigan. I had shit. I didn't have great stuff, and I lusted after pedals and amplifiers and stuff. And you should be able to have something you're proud of that makes you do what you want to do sound wise, but you can say, hey, look at that, see that, look at that, but and it's not and we do other stuff, and we do stuff in metal boxes. I mean, our Cheerio box, probably go to wood as an option. We have two new pedals coming out. One is our Chameleon, and that will most likely be in a metal box. And that's going to be our auto wah with fuzz, where you'll be able to change the switch I just had a brain fart. Be able to switch the positions of both circuits, so you can do wah into fuzz, or fuzz into wah.
Cool.
And then we're coming out with a one knob fuzz, and so life's good. We're just doing all kinds of different things. The Canalia, it's kind of onto itself, and we needed something that would get us noticed. And unfortunately, we are not in that day and age anymore where people can. I mean, it's the pedal business. This is the golden years, but it is saturated, and to get noticed, sometimes you got to jump higher in the crowd, and that's kind of what our one of our starting reasons for doing the Canali. And it was also a thought experiment. I wonder if you can make pedal in a box. So I talked to Robert Keeley, and he goes, "Yeah, I did that 5 years ago." I'm like, shit. But his was different. I wasn't aping his stuff,
Right.
But and it was, it's just, we're real proud of it, and as much as we are proud with our other stuff, and we're just gonna keep doing what we do.
Awesome.
Well,
man.
if I ever do get the vintage red SG that I'd like to have someday, I may have to get the vintage red box to go along with it.
There you go.
Well, I think we could probably work something out there, Jeff.
Probably could be a little trading going on there.
Oh, yeah, maybe a little.
I think you got an old coffee maker that you want to get rid of, right, Jeff?
No, I use mine every morning. Sorry, nobody's getting my coffee maker.
Well, the thing is I don't drink coffee either. I think,
Oh, wow.
I don't.
That's the best.
That just made that story even funnier.
Oh, yeah, shit, that was the whole thing. Is like espresso. I tried to make some. I'm like, God, this is god awful. Yeah.
So you got a website. It's LollygaggerFX.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's FX, the letters FX.
Yeah, like the channel.
Yep, that will be on our website with the show, and that will live in
perpetuity.
That's right. We'll also put your Facebook, your Instagram, all that good stuff up there. You guys click on the stuff, show them some love, and definitely check out these pedals, because they are, if they sound like they look, it's like, hello, man, forget it,
Awesome. If they sound half as good as they look,
that's right.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much, Sean, for taking the time. Good luck with everything. Good luck on the new stuff, the new designs that are coming out. And much continued success, my friend.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great rest of the evening, man.
You too, sir.
All right. Take care. And there you have the story.
How cool is that, man?
The story in a box, in a wooden box.
He's got a very dry sense of humor, too. I love it. His little deliveries were right there. I love that, man. But you saw these things. These things are gorgeous. I mean, to say the least. Usually you see a pedal, you go, yeah, it's cool. It's a pedal. Let's hear what it does. This is like, well, I'm going to look at it for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then I want to hear what it sounds like, because it's just that good looking.
It's like getting a new guitar, a new electric
really
guitar.
Is.
Yeah. I haven't even plugged it in yet. I'm just like looking at it and strumming it acoustically. It looks pretty.
Yeah. Plus, you're getting, this thing is fully hand wired. There's, for that little bit of price, that's something to be said in this day and age.
Yeah, yeah. I asked him if he just sprayed the shielding on the inside. Mm-hmm. Because I said there's a Fender story there. Mm-hmm. Around 78, 79, they had the. Let me see.
Was that the faux flame? The photo flame? What was that?
I don't know. It must have been like it might have been the 30th anniversary Strats or something.
Okay.
That would have been 54, 64, 74, 84, 79. 25th anniversary Strats.
Okay.
that, and they I think they just came in white. I'm not sure. Or it might have just been the white ones. I'm not sure.
Right.
But this is when people were, I guess, learning about the conductive shielding spray. They sprayed the entire bodies before they painted them.
Oh.
And these things, every one of them I've ever seen, just huge paint chips, like half-inch, inch and a half size paint chips. The entire body is nothing but paint chips.
Wow.
Yeah. If you find a 25th anniversary Strat and you see it like that, that's why. And it might have just been the white ones. I don't know.
Well, Fender came under some legal problems when they were trying to sell their, I forget what year it was. It was probably in the 80s. They were touting them as flame maple, and it was a photograph of flame.
Oh, photo flame.
The photo flame.
The photo flame finishes, yes.
And they caught a lot of heat for that because they were bumping the prices and telling everybody it was flame maple, and it wasn't.
Yeah, they came out with that photo flame process.
Yeah, that was not received well by the consumer world. Guys, you always get that one guy that sands it down, wants to redo it. And I think it was somebody sanded it down, and they were like, where did it go? And they were realizing they were sanding through paper.
Wow. Well, these Lollygagger boxes are neither photo flame.
That's right.
Nor painted with shielding inside and out.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
they'll last a lot longer than those guitars.
You know it, brother. So until next time, my friend.
That's right. We won't be lollygagging around next time.
I'm Mick Marcelino.
I'm Jeff Bober.
And I'm on my deathbed. And we're always saying,
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.